All right. Can you see my slide?
Yes, I
Please
can.
confirm if you can see my slide. Okay.
Yes, I can.
Um, all right. So, we'll be looking at, three areas, right? Um, the first one will be understanding the chaos, right? And what does this environment look like, and how does it, specifically erode quality? The second one is, staying effective. That is the practical, mental, communication strategies to like stabilize your work, and tools and quick solutions, just simple methods to introduce, immediate structure. So basically, from the beginning, identifying the symptoms and costs of, delivering development environments, implementing strategies to maintain focus and deliver quality amidst pressure, and then adopting actionable tools to build resilience and predictability in your QA process. So before I move, please, you can confirm that I'm very clear, so I'll know if I'll have to take off some few things, please. Hold on, sorry, I can't seem to locate I can't seem to locate the meeting again.
You are very clear, Pascal, and I think someone was raising hands, maybe David.
Okay, great. All right, let's move on. Now, defining the shambolic environment, right? So a shambolic environment isn't just a one bad day, right? It's not just a one bad day, it's a full system. And there are some common, hallmarks, right? Like moving targets, right? Just like you see on the screen. Requirements are vague, right? Or changes daily, or the fighting culture, like the firefighting culture. The focus is, reacting on the latest production bug, not on proactive settings, so just reacting as they come, right? Or even switching the context. I think, yeah. So what I mean by moving targets, so requirements are often vague, like I mentioned earlier, incomplete, or subject to, frequent changes or unannounced changes, basically. So at that point, this is because there are no proper documentation at some point, right? Or something just came in, maybe from the higher management, saying that we need to do this, we need to do that. I just got a call from the stakeholders, and this is what they are saying now, and all of that, and it's not well documented. And some of those things that started the sprint, right, based on the initial document from the sprint, is not being updated, right? I think I remember a time in a particular time in one of the companies I worked for, where we were trying to, secure a fundraising, and then the goal was to create a platform to track uh, some of the consignments that we have at the time. So we wanted to have the tracking and geolocation and tracking, just like Uber, right? And while we were trying to get that to work, my CEO came in and was like, "Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, Some of our investors are coming tomorrow. And to be honest, this geolocation stuff that we are trying to do, yes, it's wonderful, it's great, but we need something as a backup. Please, we need to create another platform for one of our stakeholders so they can be able to track this and track that and track this and track that. I will need that platform ready by tomorrow. I'm not talking about a platform like a website or something. No, I'm talking about a full-blown platform that is going to be is going to be in mobile, and it's also going to be on web. And this is what we did. So we were supposed to close 5 here, and then at the end of the day, we ended up staying over at the office till the next morning. Some parts of the team were trying to handle the geo location thing. That even we had to, drive some of one of our colleagues' car during the night just to see if the tracking and this thing is possible. And that person actually had an accident, but it wasn't that serious. But you can tell the pressure is there because we're trying to secure an investor. And at the end of the day, we're able to do that geolocation and we're able to create that platform. And myself as the QA at the time, I had to do both manual and automation testing at the same time. Why? This is because I knew that if I am going to be testing this thing over and over again, I had to quickly do a rough test automation script. When I mean rough, I mean I had to use IDs, using IDs to actually run and generate my script, right? So as not to, manually test something repetitively and all of that. So the first time I would just try and test something, I've already recorded the ID, I already recorded the test flow using ID. And then when they say, okay, test again, I'll just play it and say, okay, it's fine. Why I am trying to take pay attention or follow up to another platform under development at the same time. Now, that is one hell of a moving target, right? Yes, at the end of the day, the next day, we're able to secure the investor. We were able to create the platform, and we're able to secure over $30,000 at the time. And then it was a very big money. So yeah. Now that firefighting culture is something that we do, right, and it focuses the focus shifts on like predominantly to reactive problems and addressing the latest critical bugs rather than engaging in a proactive quality assurance. So what that means, when it goes live, you're checking it and you're saying, oh yeah, this thing is having an issue. Oh, let's push, right? I can give you so many instances that particular deployment we did, right, that went on production, and then we were able to fix it on the go. When I say fix it on the go, we were able to show the how what they call it, the investors, the parts that were working, stalling them while we are trying to fix some other aspects of the platform, which is not supposed to be so. So the idea of you trying to fix things on the fly as a QA is going to be cumbersome. And just stating these problems, right, will give you an idea what needs to be done as a QA. Does anybody have anything to say regarding this before we move forward? So, okay, since we don't have anything to say, so we'll move to the third one, which is what? Context switching, right? So you pulled out, right, between you're like pulled, like let's say for instance, like my case now, where I'm trying to, test new feature and handling bugs, right? So as a QA, you are pulled between like testing a new feature, triaging an old bugs and writing, documentation, all within the same hour. And critically, the illusion of speed, right? Everybody is rushing, but actually, delivery is actually slow because we break more than we build. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say here. We break more than we build. So that shambolic environment exposes that, right? And that's where the problem lies. So so the cost of chaos in a QA work, right? The cost of chaos in a QA work. So essentially, for quality assurance, right? Chaos isn't just an inconvenience, right? It's a direct threat to our ability to deliver reliable softwares, right? QA thrives on stability, predictability, and clear objectives. With this, our work becomes what's inherently compromised. Without this, rather, and to be honest, these four, these four, you know, focus that we are focusing on today will help us understand it properly. So, for instance, scope creeps on steroids. All right. So in a chaotic environment, right, features requests are changes, right, proliferates unchecked. What started as a defined scope rapidly expands. Is the same thing I said the last time, right? When you're trying to, you are getting the document. The document is saying, okay, stakeholders want X, Y, Z, right? And as time goes on, you start seeing ABC and QRS, right? And this affects your time of testing, right? This affects your focus. This affects how you prioritize, and it creates a lot, right? And it also leads to this other tree, right? It also leads to this other tree: loss of traceability, testing tunnel vision, right? And quick leakage. So for instance, for loss of traceability, for instance, so you're saying that you want to test for maybe a login page. You want to test for a login page, and in that login page, because you tested for username and password, you tested for login button disabled when the user has not inputted anything or inputted an invalid maybe password or something. The login is disabled, or the login is enabled, like negative test and all of that. But because that is a basic flow, and that is what we're giving to you from the beginning, right? And now in the change of the this thing in mid test, right? In mid development, what happens? Then I said they want to have say a new flow from the login that says account type or user role type. That means you have to have select first of all a user drop down. What type of user that wants to log into the system? Is it a customer, or is it a normal user, or is it an enterprise? What then happened? You have to go back to that documentation. You have to do some new stuff. And even if you don't even do the documentation, you just go ahead and test it. And at the end of the day, the document has, it's now obsolete. And not every QA go back. If I not, it's not even the QA's job to do that. The QA is actually to develop test strategies and documentation. The PM will not go back and say, oh, let us add this requirement to the document that we currently have. And because there's nothing like that, you as a QA that goes back to that, you go and check it and you not see it. And the test that you have done, you cannot trace it because there's a new flow. And when there's a bug, they will say the QA not test this. And you as a QA that have already written a test case from start to finish, you now go back to your test case. You can't even remember if you tested it or not. But you go back to your test case and you find out that you don't have a test for it. And then you say, what's our famous word? Can anybody tell me what our famous word is? Once they find issues and you're trying to explain yourself, can anybody say it? I want to hear it on the chat. Can someone say it? Nobody? Say your PM, say, why didn't you test this? What will be your reply? Is the developer not in the document? Okay. Anybody else? One more before I give you the answer. Anyone? Okay. So most times, it's a bug or a is it a bug or a feature? Okay. So most times when you are being asked, why didn't you test this? QA, you should have spotted this. Most of the answers people give QA give is it's an oversight. Has anybody used such an explanation before? Okay, okay. All right. So oversight just tells you, just tell the person that is asking that, oh, you didn't see this part. You didn't notice that this part is happening. You didn't capture it in your test case. It just tells you everything that you wrote here, if it's the developer or not in document, or is it a bug or everything is bundled on. It's an oversight. I will get on it right away, or I will update my regression script, right? And that is how it works. I don't know if it's just QA that uses this, but I think developers do use this as well, right? So that, because if you're trying to say one or two, like, oh, is this, is that, it's just prolong the whole thing. But when you say it's an oversight, I will get it done, I will add it to the test script, I'll do this, I'll do that, and then at the end of the day, everybody moves forward, and that's the problem. But those kind of I would say jump the gun usually don't happen all the time. It doesn't scale you. So if you continue using it every single time they ask you, what happened? Why didn't you test this? Is an oversight. By the time they count all the 10 oversights, they will now tell you that, oh God, you don't know what you are doing. But really, really, you didn't know what you're doing? No. The truth of the matter is it was not properly what scoped out, right? And that leads to quality leakage, right? So that inevitable outcome, right, that these factors, defects, escapes into production, right? And the quality leakage erodes users' trust, increases technical debt, and lead to expensive post-release fixes, negating any perceived short-term gains from rushing, right? So this whole scenario I painted for you guys is just what happens, right? You start having failures, right, on production, and we all know what failure is, right? Bug caught on production by the customers. So if the customer catches your bug, it's a failure. It's actually called failure. But if you're the one that, oh, you say, oh, bug leakage, that kind of thing. But the truth of the matter is, it's because of the environment that you're in at the time. So move on to the next slide. So yeah, the paradox, right, of rushing. Yeah, I'll just scale through this one because I think we've touched a little bit about it, right? So this is like a crucial point, right? In a high pressure environment, right? The pressure is on speed. But rushing is the primary enemy of quality. And to be honest, ironically, the enemy is the enemy of speed as well, right? So rushed fixes introduce new bug. New bugs require retesting. Retesting slows down the next feature. So we must break this cycle by introducing structures and predictability, starting with ourselves. That's just the long and short of it. Now, let's look at the strategy. Strategy one, prioritize with minimal variable quality. What are we talking about? The concept here is like defining essential quality, basically, right? So in chaos, you can't test everything. No, you must prioritize. And the MVQ approach means with the product owner, the absolute must have quality, right? The absolute must have quality for each release, right? Focus your effort on the high risk areas, right? And the core user journeys. Just focus on that. The high risk area. It's like your MVP. You know what your platform wants to do. You know what it's supposed to do. Focus on that place, the top priority, the high priority, the critical areas, right? The core user journeys. Once you know that that is working fine, play around with it. And then now you can look at it. For instance, a platform that is supposed to, the MVP is supposed to, take customer consignment for point A and drop it in point B, right? That's the priority. So you should focus on that core user journey. You don't go and start testing how to add a user or how to add a user into the system or checking settings or all those other parts. No, you must first of all say, oh, can I log in? Can I do this thing from point A to point B first without any issue? After that is done, you now say, oh, okay, what else? Right? There was a time I went to Kenya and we wanted to build a platform for the Kenya market. And because of their rules and regulations that is different from that of Nigeria, we had to re-strategize. It took us a month to build that platform. You can imagine the shambolic process that we had to focus on. And for a QA like me, I was the only QA that went there. And because they needed someone that would know how to cut corners, that's why I was the one that was to handle the issue because I had a lot of experience on that note. So what did I do? There's a mobile developer, there's a front-end developer, right? And there's a back-end developer. I told the back-end developer that the moment you say it's live, like your endpoint, right? Your endpoint is ready to be tested. I need you to give me the schema. I will validate the schema. That's all I can validate. 200 okay and schema. If your schema says this is it, and you're saying 200 okay, I'm fine for you, right? Why did I take the schema? The schema validation tells us what is string, what is boolean, what is all other kinds of object that you should find in a response, and what are the objects there to identify that are key, that are major. So I validated that schema and say, okay, you can plug it in to the front end. So what did I do? I didn't even care about what is happening on the back end anymore when I approached the front end platform. And I was able to tackle both the front end of the front end of the of PC, like on web, and the front end, the endpoint that is being connected to the mobile, right? And I was able to focus more on the APIs because I know if the APIs are working fine, it doesn't matter how fine the UI would look like. So because of that, there were less bugs, right? And it took us a month to handle that. And I was able to properly document whatever thing I tested at the time. So focusing on that, core user journey, right? This isn't about like skipping tests, at all. It's not skipping testing. It's about making a conscious, documented decision about where to invest your limited time. If you have 3 hours, right, spend 2.5 on the high risk part, right? So what was the other part? Um, owning the acceptance criteria. You see that one, owning the acceptance criteria. Okay, let me see. I think we've covered most of it, but I just want to point out this owning the acceptance criteria as strategy 2. Now, if the requirements are vague, please don't proceed. You can push back. You can push back. It's your right for you to push back. Your job isn't to like guess the requirements. No. Your job is to verify it. So if the requirements are vague, what are you verifying? Just think about that for a second. What are you trying to verify? So you have to take control of that acceptance criteria. Take control of it before starting any test. Ensure the AC is smart. That's the acceptance criteria. Ensure it is very, very smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time bound. If a feature, right, if the feature comes in like comes with, it should be user friendly, for instance. If it comes with, oh, it should be, user friendly, for instance, right? Just push back. Push back. Because a first time user can't complete checkouts in under 60 seconds. You understand? So you have to measure criteria, right, that creates stable testing grounds. That creates stable testing grounds. So the third one, prioritization via risk matrix. In a chaos environment, right, bug and issues can proliferate rapidly. Without a clear framework, decision making on what to fix becomes emotional and reactive rather than strategic. The risk impact matrix provides an objective method to prioritize defects and feature risk. What's the function? The function helps manage urgent bugs and prioritize testing efforts by assessing issues based on their potential impact and probability of occurrence, removing subjective bias. Now, in this third, strategy, communication as a quality tool. That's what I just feel. Like, it's just as simple as that. When you are hit with 10 urgent bugs, you need a framework. Use a simple risk impact matrix severity. How bad is this bug versus the likelihood? What am I saying? How often will the user hit it? Like, how often will the user encounter this bug? Bugs that are high severity and high likelihood and like get tackled first. That one should be tackled first, right? That is your how will I say it? Your critical bugs. right? That part removes emotional pressure and replaces it with what? A logic, defensible workflow. Because once that is out of the way, right, you can tell that any other thing you see, any other bug you see at that time will not be an issue. They'll be like, okay, we can take this one. How did they even call it again when you push known bugs um, to production? Can anybody tell me? Known bugs to production is called what? Can anyone? Okay, I'll just leave that open for anyone to answer that.
Yeah, so I think that's about release.
All right,
Yeah.
bug release, that's true. Or bug release. So that's it, right? So when you tackle most of the how will I put it? When you tackle most of the critical bugs, those other ones that does not affect the system and probably the user can use through another route to access whatever thing he wants to access, right? You can just say, oh, once you're making that your release note will have, oh, we have this issue, use use this part. We are working tirelessly to fix it. That's on your known box area, right? So basically, you get to, uh, focus on that and then get yourself in a place where you're safe on production. Now, the fourth strategy. Now, essentially, for this fourth part strategy, we are looking at communication. Communication isn't just like reporting bugs, it's managed expectations, right? Let's use a t-shirt size analogy, for instance, for test readiness. Is the build small, ready for testing, right? Medium, or like some known issues or whatever, you now tell, okay, you can continue, just proceed with caution, just like that. But if it is large, please, if it's not stable, just is it a no-go or a no-go? A go or a no-go, right? When you say no-go, you're not delaying. No, you're not. You're preventing negative velocity. So stopping wasted hours on what? A broken build. So they give you a full-blown application with a lot of bugs. Believe you me, by the time you go forward, you see bugs, you go forward, you see bugs. By the time you get to a particular point, just stop. Just say, this is too broken to even test. But before you can do this, right, you must have proper confidence and documentation. What do I mean by that? If you have a full documentation, like a full scope of the this and on that test, right? Then you can tell anybody, I'm not testing this because I've gone quarter the documentation and everything seems to be breaking. I cannot waste more hours on this. Please, this thing needs to be fixed. Review. Because at the end of the day, some of us, once we start testing, our developers go to sleep, right? Our developer goes to sleep. And sometimes it was during the late hours that the developer does the work, and then pushes tickets to ready for test in the morning when you are supposed to go live. This happens all the time. I believe so. So that requires what? Confidence and what? Documentation. So let's go to the next one, the mindset shift, right? From gatekeeper to risk investigation. We are talking about QAs today. So we move beyond merely finding bugs and blocking releases. Your role is to become a risk investigator. What does this mean for you? Proactively identifying potential quality risk, articulating these risks to stakeholders in business terms, and also what? Providing data-driven insights into the implications of releasing with known issues, right? In chaos, your job shifts from being a pass and fail gatekeeper to what? A risk investigator. You're not just finding bugs, you are assessing and articulating like the risk of those bugs. So it makes your reports more valuable and what helps the team make better and faster decisions. So that risk, for instance, you have your test case. You have a test case. Something passed. You know that it passed, but you are seeing something there. You are seeing that, oh, with little network, if there is someone that has low whatever, right, it's likely to fail. Or for instance, you try to test something, you're trying to do a drop down. It's a particular way you're trying to select the drop down until you have to use a particular way before that drop down works. And don't forget, some users can be crazy, or some users can be lazy, right? And those users can just say, "Oh, man, I don't tire. I don't want to even do this thing. It's too much time." Okay, what about the flow? XYZ flow, right? A particular flow to achieve an action, to achieve a purpose rather, right? And the action takes 10 flows when these flows can actually be done in 3 or in 4 steps or in 5 steps. But you see 10 flows. For that user will be like, when it gets to the 4th flow, it'll be like, man, this form is just too much. Oh. Okay, I'm coming back. And then he leaves. And then that person comes back and forgets that he was actually filling a particular form or going through a flow. Or the system has already timed him out. How about that? So you start doing all those risk investigation that, like, oh, the risk of having a customer adopt the platform or user adopts the platform, or having a user, engage the platform with less time but achieve more by saying, okay, by the time the user let's say for instance, the user opens a form, and the first thing that happens is that the system has already told it that it's from Nigeria. Default, so you are from Nigeria, but you can also select other countries if you choose to. But on default, it says Nigeria. Why? Because it has checked the location of where the person is assessing it. Okay, is it Nigeria? And move on. By the time you say, oh, he wants to get to, say, you want to get to name, right? And he starts typing name. He starts typing name. The moment he finishes typing name, and he wants to go to the next field. Let's say, for instance, there's a better field that helps autocomplete, right? So okay, yes, like address, location, address. You want to type address. Most platforms hardly use Google for their address. They just put an empty form and all of that. But if you have somebody that has a form that has Google in it, you just say, by the time you write, oh, Impori, for instance, it just helps you complete it. Is it Impori you're trying to talk about? This is it, and just auto complete it, and it goes next, and it goes next. And that save button, let's say for instance, the customer or the user decides to take a break. Is there a save that when the customer comes back, it doesn't have to start all over again? all those things as a QA, you are supposed to be checking, right? And to see how you can make the platform better, because you are representing the user and you're trying to make sure that 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 user does not get tired of the platform and just abandon the platform, and then there'll be low tech adoption to the platform, right? So we'll move on to the next one, which is the tools, right? Tool one, the definition of what ready. So the definition of ready is one of the most powerful tools for preventing chaos, right, from entering a QA workflow. It acts as a non-negotiable gate, ensuring that any work item passed to QA meets a minimum standards of competence, completeness, and clarity. For this, you check the function. What's the function? Filtering chaos. So the DOR ensures that stories, features, or bug fixes are adequately prepared before being QA'd, right? This prevents testers from what? Wasting time or or wasting time on incomplete, untestable, or what? Constantly changing items, thereby protecting your team efficiency. Now, DOR, this checks leak, right? You can't actually control, right, the developers, but you can control what you accept. That's what this is all just trying to tell us. Implement a simple, mandatory definition of ready checklist, right, with the team. This item, you can add code review, right? Acceptance criteria defined. First of all, you can pass that code review. First of all, it will pass code review, and then acceptance criteria, and then what? You prepare your test data and the environment, check if the environment is stable and everything. You know, sometimes when they push bugs or they push features or fixes on production, most times it's stable. But there are times where when that push is done, even if it's an environment, even if it's a staging environment, you need to first of all run like a regression environment, a regression test to see if your system is stable first before you can now test, do the feature test, right? Confirmation testing, so to speak. So no item on the checklist. If there's no item on the checklist, right, the ticket goes back. Just take it back. It should be like a non-negotiable gate. It should not reach you. That's what I'm just trying to explain to you. It should not reach you. Just have these processes. As a quality assurance engineer, you're supposed to have these processes. I'm telling you for a fact that most of us, we tend to wait till when, you know, our ticket is ready for test. But guess what? Have a conversation with your PM. Get to understand what this feature is about. You saw a ticket that was created for a developer, and then you go to your PM and say, PM, this ticket, do you know about this ticket? What does it in your requirement document? What does this ticket contribute to this your requirement? I want to see it in your requirement document. Once it says that, oh, this is it, then that's when you can now generate your this and all of that. And then when you notice that, oh, it's now on production, it's now on staging and the likes, reach out to your technical lead. About, did you check this code? Did you see this thing? I know it may look like, oh, you are micromanaging, but definitely it's just a ask question. It's not, don't make it too serious. Don't make it too serious. Just reach out to your technical lead, someone that is supposed to review the video. Just say, this thing is on this thing, and I saw the PR. Did you see it? If he says yes, he saw it, you say that means it was reviewed. You can say yes and no, but just put it on the record that whether he reviewed it or not, so that when anything comes out from that ticket, it will start from that place. Well, I asked the XYZ technical, he said he saw it, he reviewed it. He saw it, he didn't review it. Right? I asked the PM for the acceptance criteria. He said he did not write it, or he said he wrote it down. Your own test case is based on the acceptance criteria. And guess what? And you have done your whatever environments with regression testing. And if the regression testing failed, it means that there's a possibility that even that test you're trying to do for that ticket passes, it may fail in the future because of some other things are failing. Right? There may be, some kind of relation between these two new feature and what was existing. Because it was working before. So why is it not working now? Now they've introduced this new thing. So these are the little processes, right? That checklist that you need to ensure that, things are going smoothly. So let's look at the second two. I think there's a I must have made a mistake on this thing now. So sorry, in my notes here, I actually added some few things. I think I took out some few notes, but I'll just basically just say it out so that you guys can listen to what I have to say. I think I missed out some PDFs. All right, so the second part of the tool, there are two more tools, and which is the session-based test management, right? And then the automated smoke test, right? Down is basically everybody knows about smoke testing and test automation in general. So let's talk about the SBTM. So I'll just paste this out on the channel. I'm rounding up very soon. So, and 2, 3. Apologies for this. These are my final notes. Okay, so what am I saying here? I'm talking about the part of context switching, right? This session-based test management is the lifesaver to like context switching, right? So this one structures your tests in short, focused sessions, right? So during a session, you focus on only the single mission, right? Maybe you're trying to focus on verifying the security of maybe payment flow or something, right? And that way you say, for this part, we have tested it. This is what I do, right? When I notice that there's a platform that's under test and we're focusing on some areas, I usually do peer testing. I don't care. I don't want to even say, let me test this alone. Once I test this alone and I see that, I got the test passed, but I know that there's some certain technical things I might have missed. Because first of all, I have to behave like a user that does not know anything, right? Before I'll now try to behave like a user that understands what is being done behind the scene. So for me to achieve this, I have to, call the developer, call the PM. I have tested this thing. I have checked it. It's looking fine. It's looking good. But I want all three of us to sit down and look at this and say, is this fine? Is this fine? Is this fine? PM, does this look good for you? Yes, it does. And developer, you implemented this. What is your goal using this flow to achieve this thing that this PM has written on his document? I did this, I did this, I did that. Now, ideas can come out. Instead of you to say, oh, transaction successful, it does not really tell what transaction you are talking about. It's talking about transaction for, buying a subscription, or transaction for this. What post message are you trying to give us? You have to make it more descriptive enough. All those little things, right, gives you that, record, right? At the end of the day, you record a debrief report, like what you did, what you found, and what blocked you generally, right? So when you are testing that thing. So these forces focus and provide immediate, auditable traceability, and everybody can understand it, and everybody can say, oh, this is what we decided on, because it carves out structure in the surrounding mess. That's just the truth. Because it's just that structure. Even if we are trying to, get things to go on live, but if we have these three people who are key components to making the products very good, right? Once they are on the know, and this is what we found and everything, you just speak it. 60 to 90 minutes, it doesn't matter. 60 to 90 minutes, let's test this part of the system. In the next day, 60 to 90 minutes, let's test this part of the system. We want to go live, I understand. I will bring my regression script later. But see this thing, let us test it now. That is what this session-based test management is about. The third two and the final two before we close up, right? Which is the what? Automated smoke test as a barrier. Now, most powerful tools against a shambolic environment is a reliable, fast automated test suite, right? So if your build fails, right, if it fails the smoke test, then what? The whole team knows instantly that the foundation what is broken. So if you're doing a smoke test, what does the smoke test do? Just check system health. You're not trying to add anything to the system. You're just going to other places, just trying to, check if you're opening things, if things are loading. That's basic access to the system. And once that one fails, there's ways you can do this. You can integrate it directly to the app repo, or you can separate the automation test suite and connect it to the app repo. So you can have independence in, pushing and pulling packages in that same listen. So if you have that test suite as part of your build process, saying that, oh, if this test does not pass, please let us just roll back. Don't just fail the build, right? It's just like a no-go sign, like, oh, we are not moving to the next level. Let us fix that thing first before we go forward. So it's a clear, objective, no-go sign that presents any time from being what wasted on functional testing, and it buys you back hours of sanity. And we all know that QA, we save a lot. It could save life, saves money, right? Saves time. But more importantly, right, saves money. Yeah, save life is some areas of quality assurance that has to do with this, necessarily in the medical field, right? So that smoke test is very important. So if you're in a team and you don't have an automation tester, it's very important that you have an automation for this purpose of what? Smoke test, right? If you don't even have your regression test in the pipeline, you should at least have smoke test suites in your pipeline. So just to finalize everything, right? To wrap things up, remember, like, these three keys to maintaining quality under pressure. Number one, prioritize the MVQ, right? That is the test essentials first. Then number two, communicate assertively. That is like use risk impact and t-shirt sizing to manage what expectations. And what number 3, build barriers, right? Build barriers. You can use the DOR and automated smoke tests to filter chaos, right? So few ways, right, are the structural elements in a dynamic environment, right? So start with one change tomorrow, just one change. Implement a simple DOR checklist with your lead. So on these notes, I end this conversation. So I'll be taking questions if you have any.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pascal. Thank you. Honestly, that was very relatable. Um, I'm sure a lot of us could literally relate, or perhaps some of us were nodding our heads because you literally described the kind of environment many QA professionals are working in. The pressure left and right and clear processes. Thank you so much. So at this point, we'll be moving to the Q&A sessions. If you have any questions for Mr. Pascal, maybe something you are currently struggling with at work or something you mentioned that stood out to you, please feel free to drop it in the chat or just raise your hands. Okay, we have someone. Mr. Sex Sector, please you can go on with your question.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Pascal. Thanks for that wonderful session and knowledge sharing that you just did. So there was a place where I worked previously, right? And please, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, it's a bit vague, but
Yeah.
Okay.
please go on.
What about now? Isn't that better?
Yeah, please.
Okay, very well. So I worked in a particular organization previously, and it's not even there alone. I think a couple of organizations do that thing. Like you literally see a team, a development team of like 12 developers, maybe mixed of front end, back end, right? And then you will see one QA engineer being employed to take care of, to test all the things that 12, I mean, developers are working on. And especially in a fast-paced environment, right, where you develop using Agile, and then there is um, sprint work, maybe 3 weeks or 2 weeks sprint, and everything is very fast, like a lot of initiatives going on at the same time. And then you are being pressured to develop automation scripts, right? While you still have a whole lot of functional activities to work on, right? So I'm saying this from my personal experience actually. And then you knew that yes, automation is what can scale in the agile environment. Automation is what you can that needs is a need. In fact, there's nothing you can do about it. You need it in order to not burn out for all this regression testing and all of that. But you are in an environment where the system aren't stable, and then you are being pressured to do automation while you still have a whole lot of functional testing. You're also being dragged into escalation, probably resolving customer issues, setting up, following up with developers that have been resolved, and a whole lot of other things like that. So how do you manage in such a scenario? Because me practically in that situation, what I did was that I asked for an extra hand and I refused to implement automation script. But um, if there is a way around it, how do you think a proper Q engineer should address it or approach it? Because I know there may be some other guys on the call right now that are facing such challenges. For me, literally, what I did was that I refused it and asked for extra hands until I have an extra hand. I'm not going to go into this. That's what I did. So, but what's your own angle to
Okay. So that's actually something that most QAs face, right? You come into a company as a manual tester. In fact, I've seen cases where someone came in as an intern and then later turned into a full staff manual QA. And then that person is being asked to write automation script, um, react to text and tech service desk, right? And then do the manual and then do some other activities like monitoring the platform, mobile platform, and all of that. Now, pushing back is a good way to go, right? Pushing back is a good way to go. And re-strategizing how you want to actually write your test and all of that. So if for instance you say, oh, they said, oh, let us do automation, and you are the one that's going to do the automation, or we're not bringing anybody. You say, oh, good and fine. Good and fine. For Q1, I'll be doing manual. For Q2, developers should test. I'll do the automation. Are we good? Because you need to let them understand that uh, what they call it, being an automation engineer is a career of its own. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Being an automation engineer is a career of its own. If you say, oh, you are going to be an automation engineer, QA automation engineer, all you do is automation. You don't do manual. You only come as a helping hand if there's no this. 30% of your time will be spent on manual. 30%, not more than 30% be spent on manual. So you as an automation engineer, you're coming in as an, and another thing again is that we have issues telling our interviewers who you are just because you're trying to secure a job. You apply for a job that says um, manual testing, and you go there and you're expecting to hear manual testing questions, and they are giving uh, automation testing questions. And then you turn and look at them, and you're looking at the job description, and you're like, and you are so scared, you now be like, you now start answering that. Say, I'm not answering that because this is for manual test. Yes, I can have knowledge about it, but I don't have any reason to answer an automation testing question because this is a manual. This job is for what? Even if the interviewer says you can do this, until then we'll do interview to see if I'm fit for the role. Do you get? So when you look at your job description and say this is what you need to do, and you want to be very lenient about, okay, you want to be part of the automation thing, you want to do it and all of that, then you have to give timeline, checklists, like I mentioned, just something that will just let you know, let everybody know that, okay, this is what should be done. There's nothing wrong in doing everything, but don't do everything at the same time. You have to give timeline, epics. There are sprints. In this sprint, you people should handle your test. I am doing test automation. I'm setting up stuff, right? I have tickets, right? You have appraisals. You talk about these things in your appraisals. You talk about these things in your objective setups. Ensure that you have key, like, and nobody can tell you are not doing your job. Nobody. As long as you have those things documented, that this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do. Nobody will tell you that and once they see that you are thick-necked about it, about processes, because that's what you are all about. As a QA, you are all about processes. Unless you are a software tester. There's a difference, right? Unless they tell you, come and be testing software for us. They're just doing the activity, right? Then you can be bounced anywhere you want to. They can bounce you anywhere. But so long as you are bearing that title, quality assurance, you must ensure you put process to your doings. And that's it. Any other
Thank you so
question?
much, Mr. Pascal. Is there any other question? Any other question, please?
Any other
Any other
question?
question?
Okay. I'll take that as a no. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Pascal. I just want to say a very big thank you, sir, for this session. It wasn't just technical, it was honest, practical, and very, very necessary. Thank you very much. To everyone who joined us tonight, want to say a very big thank you for showing up. Your presence means a lot to us. I don't know if Mr. Success would like to say any other thing before we finally round up.
Uh, uh, okay,
Okay.
so just to
Just
appreciate
to appreciate
Pascal for this
Pascal for
evening.
this evening.
Really appreciate
Really
your
appreciate
time.
your
Really
time.
appreciate
Really
you
appreciate
joining
you
us.
joining us.
Never take that
Never
for
take that for
granted.
granted.
Thanks so much
Thanks
for
so much
pouring
for
out
pouring
all
out.
of yourself to educate um, our aspiring software tester. I think majority that we have on this call are those who are participating in our scholarship program. And then we also have some key engineers here as well. So thank you very much for taking your time with us here today. We're really glad and we appreciate that very much. Yeah, and for everyone that joined, thank you. Okay, so Elizabeth, over to you.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. So, if there's anything that I would like to take away from tonight's session is that even in a shambolic environment, you still have the power to think clearly, take ownership. Honestly, you can take ownership as and add value as a QA professional. So, once again, I really want to say thank you very much to Mr. Pascal and to everyone who joined us tonight. Please, I would as well love to encourage us to stay connected with SQA Marshal concepts for upcoming trainings and webinars. So, thank you very much. Once again, my name is Elizabeth. Thank you so much for your time. Do
Yeah,
have
thank
a
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Do have
Yeah,
a
one
lovely
more
Yeah,
thing.
one more thing.
okay.
Um,
Um,
so I have
so I have
pasted
tested
two
two
frameworks that can
frameworks
help
that
us
can help us
be very
be
ready
very
in
ready
terms of test
in terms of test
automation,
automation,
both for
both for
non-functional
functional
and
and
non-functional.
non-functional.
So these are
So these are
the
the
could you
could you,
Abibola, could you please
Abibola, could
mute?
you please mute?
I can hear myself. All right, thank you. So these are like I said earlier, my kind of person is to ensure that regardless of the test automation tool that you know, it doesn't matter to me as long as you can deliver, right? So I am going into the aspect of getting tools, type the name of a tool out of the way and just put in, your efforts, delivering from day one. So these two tools help us to do that. One is cases cucumber steps. If you know cases is a non-functional testing tool. You can also use it for functional testing, but it depends. What it does is help you test your APIs, load test your API, stress test, and all the other non-functional forms of testing, right? So what I did was to, this is the first of its kind, to use plain English to test your endpoints, to load test your endpoints. So if you go to the GitHub repo, give it a star, give it a like, and then try it out. Same thing for Playwright, right? Playwright, talking about TS steps. All you just need to do is install and start making use of it. Follow the instructions and start making use of the tool right away. You don't need to even know about K6 or what it does, but just all you just have to do is to do the plain English, and then don't forget to give it a star, and it will help you go very far in your testing career as well. So I've done couple of seminars, right? Sorry, webinars on it. I hope someday SQA Marshal will call me to talk more on this, but this is just a way of telling you there's a tool out there that can make your life easier and make you more professional, right? So that's just it. I have that for Cypress, but honestly, I just kept that for I've not published that yet. I have that for Selenium WebDriver too for both mobile and API, but uh, that too has not been published yet, but it's being used in in companies that I've worked with. I've set it up for most of the companies that I've worked with, and they've been using it. Anybody that comes into the system just starts making their impact right away and start submitting test automation, whether you're a manual and automation tester, and that can help you go further in your career. So yeah, please don't forget to give it a star, and then we may talk about it in the future. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. So we would like to call it today. Do have a lovely evening, everyone.
All right. Thank you.